got him in the chokehold and he can't.
I know.
I mean,
man.
how hard is it to choke the guy out? What are you doing?
All right, the PGA season rolls on, the betting season rolls on, and here we are, another edition of Putting for Dough. Back following some match play, a little bit to look back at the President's Cup, but we move forward. Ben, Rasa, Eytan, Shander, Chris is producing, so we appreciate you here on the Odd Shopper channel. Hit the thumbs up button, please. Subscribe, the fastest growing sports betting community across YouTube, and the notification bell, because we do these early in the week, so you don't want to miss these when they drop. There's a lot of good value that Ben has taken a long time making sure that he can scour across everybody through 150 to 1 long shots and provide the best. What's up, man?
What's up, dude? Yeah, golf never, I know it's not peak
Never
golf
sleeps.
season, but you know what? Still can put something on the card, cash some tickets, maybe hit a couple outrights in swing season. You know, it's not glamorous, but you hit something at Sanderson Farms, that's extra money for the Masters. That's extra money for the players. That's extra money for the entire golf season. So that's what we're here to do. I do like this course. There are some positives, even though my mind obviously is in college football and the NFL more often than not at this time of the year.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people are. So maybe a bad number hangs for a little longer.
Yep.
Maybe there's just some different value, right? Whenever less people are paying attention to something or more people are paying less attention, however you want to phrase it, something could open up to that. And you're right. I mean, we're all focused now. If it's college, if it's NFL, whatever order we are, the NBA is right around the corner. So we're still waiting. We're still waiting, but we are getting to a point, as you mentioned, there's some serious value here at Sanderson. So before we do that, and also the field, I think you can look at this field as a little bit better than we saw at least last year. Let's look back if there's anything we learned from the President's Cup. Look, I mean, it's very difficult from match play to now getting back to stroke solo individual events and really extrapolate, right, anything true from it. Maybe somebody who's gassed, right, that finishes, that look gassed or what have you, but you were close with JT. We didn't really do a ton on this last week because we didn't know the field, but as far as the matchups were concerned, but you were close with JT.
Really close enough where I was able to secure some profits because I knew if he won his singles match, he would be, in fact, the top scorer, along with possibly Spieth as a chop. So I was able to bet a little money on Siwoo. We talked about that in my Discord channel, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But overall, I was really happy with it. I think, like everyone, I expected the U.S. to win, and they did pretty comfortably. Got tight there for a couple seconds. So I didn't have any big takeaways. I was just really happy with the money that I did put down. Ultimately, it resulted in a payday, even though, of course, I wanted JT to actually be the top point scorer because that was a good one. It was a 7-1 ticket, and that would have been a nice little momentum grab before we got back into PGA Tour play.
Absolutely. And I think looking at it here still with Sanderson, as you mentioned, the mentality applies where if you sneak by and get anything of value, you get anything good, you hit anything, it's extra money, it's it's free roll, if you will, moving into when things get serious and more eyes. And look, if there's anybody that we can talk about now who pops up, who starts maybe a run that we've seen, right? And a couple of guys at the top of the list you can point to from an odds standpoint. So we can do that. Let's shift in to this week and see what we can find at Jackson. But let's remind everybody too, we have a couple of things going on here where you can turn $10 on a money line play into $200 with BetMGM. Just click that link below. It's a simple process, right? Where all you need to do is through that DK as well. We have links below for people and across the board. Like, we can't be on here, Ben, talking about how great it is to shop odds and all of our tools that we have on OddsShop are free for everybody out there, and go across book to book to book and then not offer a couple of different opportunities at different books. So people can take advantage. First time deposit bonuses, DraftKings and BetMGM below.
No doubt about it. And, you know, I know a lot of people that say like, well, I really like this one book. Everyone's got, I think for the most part, a preference. I do majority of my betting on one book, but I still have accounts elsewhere because occasionally a number pops up and I want that number. So if you're going to do
Right.
that, you can park some money in some of these sites, get these bonuses, take advantage, and you're still probably going to gravitate towards one. I mean, maybe you're different, but for me, I know that I have preferences over some of these books, but I still have action on all of them because when we go to OddsShopper, we see quickly how much that value can add up if you're able to bet across numerous markets.
I can't tell you horror stories of people that have been told, and OddsShopper is part of that, right? Like, hey, take advantage of this. It's a broken line, or it's great value, or it's not going to be around forever. And you're sitting there like waiting, trying to get to your PayPal to deposit money. And but right, that moment alone is going to kill any value. And then all of a sudden you're taking the worst of it. So you're right. Just to have money in an account, even if you're not using it, bet 5 money line, win 200 if that bet hits on DraftKings. BetMGM is risk-free for your first $1,000 bet for 47 states. So not bad, right?
Not bad at all. Again, your mileage is going to vary depending on where you are, but just take advantage of what these books are offering. That's as simple as I can put it. What these promos are for you. Obviously, the books want your business. We all know that, but they're willing to pay for it.
All right, my friend, let's jump in here. Top of the board, Sanderson Farms. We are in Jackson now, to be specific. And there's been a little bit of variance, I guess, if you look at the winners here. One maybe consistent theme, and you can expand on this into just the preview before we even hit some names, or if you want to take it to the top, that's fine, Ben. But looking at it, it seems more recently, at least, the longer hitters have benefited here. So if you wanted to find one thing, now putting is always going to be a metric that if you can do well should separate you, but seems like getting off the tee and some distance here, especially on those second shots, has helped guys recently as far as winners.
Yeah, I mean, you have opportunities, par 72. You could take apart these par 5s. So driving the ball is always going to be important when you have those opportunities. It's the kind of course, it's certainly not difficult. Let's get real right off the bat. Hitting fairways can be hit and miss here, but you're not overly punished if you don't. So you're able to work in and out of trouble pretty well, and that always gives incentive for guys to be very aggressive. You know, Sam Burns kind of showed that blueprint last year here, and I think we are going to see more often than that. But you did mention there's more than one way to be effective here. If you can really putt it, you also can kind of rely on that second shot ability with these par 5s. So I'm not just looking at bombers. I actually have a pretty well-rounded card in terms of skill sets.
All right. So looking at that, because I'm with you as well, where it's not just going to be relying on one metric. And here's the thing. I think another part of this is you don't have to, right? Like, this isn't a top heavy field. We don't have some of the best in the world competing against each other, where maybe one thing can be the big difference here. We've seen where you can survive a bad day. The field is open, I think, to an extent. So you're not forced into kind of identifying one or maybe two metrics and then riding that across the board. So I like what you said as far as variety on your ticket. Let's start at the top. Who you got?
So the top, I mean, in a tournament like this, let's point out there's only 3 guys who played in the President's Cup that are even here. And Sam Burns is one of them. He's the predominant favorite. Clearly, I'm going to try to beat him. If he goes back-to-back, more power to him. But if he doesn't win, you're already at Deagle at 18-1. I'll talk about Denny McPutts. Denny McCarthy, 25-1. He's not a great driver of the ball. He's already kind of an atypical build in terms of what we want. But we also have to acknowledge that he has putting that is just beyond everybody else, and Bermuda is actually his preferred surface. This is a guy that, to close last year, numerous top 10s, got in the mix, played in FedEx Cup events. We saw him at Fortinet, did what he always does, gained 4.5 strokes putting. Yep. He's going to eventually break through and just connect through 72 holes if he keeps playing like this. Why not in a field of this caliber? 25-1, I'm okay with that right off the bat.
Couple of top 7s, right? Was it the last 2 times out?
So Danny McCarthy had a really good stretch. He was 5th at Memorial, 7th at the US Open, and 6th at John Deere. Yeah. All in about a month stretch. Then he regressed a little and he, 20th at FedEx Cup, 28th at the BMW. That's, kind of ran out of gas. I'm willing to forgive that. He only lost strokes putting twice last year.
I'm telling you,
that's ridiculous.
Last year here.
No, just the entire year.
Oh, okay. The entire year. I'm sorry.
I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
All the tournaments, he was only negative with the flat stick twice. I mean, that's practically unheard of.
You're right. And he's played well here. Absolutely played well here. So there's recent history for McCarthy, not only last year on tour with what you mentioned as far as the putting, but also the familiarity with this course. And I think
he gained.
Yeah.
I was just going to he gained 10 strokes putting here in 2018. He came in 7th. He's been positive strokes putting 4 straight years at this event. It's hard to think that won't travel.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. I agree. So I'll throw out the other guy that's up there at the top. And I think the obvious answer is, well, if I get both of these guys, one at 20 to 1, one at 25 to 1, you're just going to go with the guy at 25 to 1 in McCarthy over Thigala. But if you look at this run that started last year, arriving on the scene last year, this was the tournament. And this is, again, a guy who had a hell of a stretch last year playing golf. So many times I felt like we talked about him, Ben, as far as, well, this could be that tournament, kind of the rich man's version of Maverick McNeely, right? Where we kind of gave up on that thought process with McNeely halfway through the season, but kept it with Thigala because I think there was something tangible. We saw him struggle and bounce back in the same tournament and finish strong at places, suffer a really tough break at the end of another tournament. But you come back to here where he knows this course. The field is not as intimidating maybe as it was last year for him. I think even at 20 to 1, where I know I'm losing 500 points to McCarthy, I'm still getting ahead of the leader here, and I'm still getting a guy who I think is riding a really good stretch of golf.
No, yeah, listen, the thing I would talk about with Thigala, I'm a big Denny McCarthy fan, but I'll be pretty honest. I think we kind of know how good he is. Nobody has any idea how good Thigala is. He could be a world-class player. Like, he just burst on the scene. He is on the short list of people that he's probably going to win sooner rather than later. We saw him already in the swing season come in 6th. Yep. The big knock on him, if there is one in the spot, is traditionally Bermuda is not his preferred surface. When he, really showed up here last time, he was able to find it with the putter, gain 3 strokes putting. We know tee to green and with the irons, that's a strength of his game. So I get it. I mean, there's no arguing with this talent. He's going to be on a lot of people's cards this week for obvious reasons.
Let's keep it moving here as we have a couple of other opportunities for you to make money. We always have our 40, 20, 10, unless there's match play and international shit going on, then it's kind of hard to do that, but we'll get to that as well. Let's look at the mid-range, see where we are, how much opportunity you think there is in that. And again, mid-range could be, 30 to 1 to 75 to 1, whatever.
Yeah, we keep it pretty moving target on
for those
this show.
New, right? It's a wide gap.
So for the same reasons with Thigala, I think that you got to look at Davis Riley, 40 to 1. Do I think he's as good as Thigala? No, he's not as consistent, but Davis Riley is another guy that's got some big time pedigree, some big time upside. We've seen him have multiple top 5s on the PGA Tour. I know he can win. Is he ever going to put it together? Who knows, honestly. He ran out of gas late in the season last year, and he was terrible in his lone event so far this year, but he lost 6 strokes putting at the Fortinet. I'm just going to completely throw that out. This is another name going to be on people's cards because people want to buy on a guy like Davis Riley. And at the same price, basically, you've got Seamus, who has shown that he can hang on the PGA Tour, had a really strong season last year. He's a winner on tour, won at the Barbasol. And I like that number at 50 to 1. So some of these guys in my mid-range card, buying low because the form hasn't been there. But when you're talking about bang for your buck, 40 and 50 to 1 in this field for those type of names, I'm more than okay with that and adding those to the card.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you're getting power at 50 to 1 here.
That's
before, like shopping, of course, but to find that number at 50 to 1 for Seamus Power seems really off, right? As I mean, consistency, if anything, right? If you want to point to a guy who what you're now, again, doesn't mean you know the ceiling, but you kind of know the parameters. I don't want to be out of the shot. Sorry, Chris, but you kind of know the parameters, right? I know you're shaking your head.
Come on now.
But that's the
Rookie
thing, like a very
mistake.
consistent golfer in this field, 50-1.
I mean, he's played 27th at the Masters, 9th at the PGA Championship, 12th at the US Open. Seamus took a big step last year. Now, again, he ran out of gas. Miscut at the Open, miscut at St. Jude, 65th at the BMW in like a 70-man field. He didn't have it at the end. I don't really care about that. I know what he can do. He's had quick starts. He's had swing season results in the past. He was 4th at RSM during last year's swing season. 50-1 is just too big of a number. I don't think he's going to win, obviously, but I think he's got better than a 2% chance. That's for sure.
I'm going to hit you with a guy here to think about. A little bit lower when you look at Taylor Montgomery at 35-1, but you're also riding what could be in 2-3 weeks, depending on, what we see here with the schedule and all and where he's playing. But, 2 to 3 events down the line for Montgomery, field dependent. This could be a 28-1. This could be a 25-1. We saw at Fortinet, like a really strong putting performance. And I think that this is a shorter version, right, of what you're doing with Denny McCarthy. Why are you laughing?
No, it's a strong putting performance. That's an understatement. It was a career 11.2 strokes gained putting. That might be one of the best all season. Incredible putting.
Yeah, I get it. Like the variance of that club alone would indicate. But here's the thing. This isn't an NFL game where you see a team barely win by a point and everybody thinks they suck. And then they come out and they win the next week by 35 and just leave you twisted. You can be on putting streaks. Like guys on this sport, in this tour can pick things up. And all I'm looking at from Montgomery, it's a similar scenario that you brought up with Denny McCarthy here, Ben, which is if Montgomery gets me 80% of that, he should still be one of the top tier putters in this event. And that's enough at 35-1 to take a shot.
I mean, listen, the putting, if you can get anything consistently where you're gaining multiple strokes putting, that's going to be a ridiculous asset. My biggest concern when guys get on streaks, not always, typically they stay on surface. And he was on bent, and now he goes to Bermuda where he really doesn't have a ton of data. But when you're talking about swing season, you have to take some shots on guys that we just don't know, because some of them, these numbers we're never going to see again. Is it Taylor Montgomery? I have absolutely no idea, but he's in a class of multiple players that really destroyed the Korn Ferry Tour. And now he gets a chance to start, build upon a 3rd place finish in his first event.
All right, my friend, we keep this moving here because we're also going to have to hit the 40-20-10, tell people about the premium insider access before we get out of here. But let's look at any real long shots here. I don't know. I didn't want to break a rule. My long guy is also going to be my 40-20-10, but okay. I can't. I don't know. You picked a really good one, and then I start to look around, and I'm thinking like, all right, you stole 2 really good ones, by the way. Your long shot and your 40-20-10. Yeah,
this is my favorite part of the card for me. So this one, I mean, how many times everyone watching, all our loyal listeners have already bet Benny on probably at 80-1, and I am with you. We will do it together. A guy that so many chances on tour, went back, did it the hard way, got back, and now he's got opportunities again. So it's really cool to see him back on tour, 4th in his first start in swing season. It's a putting issue. And if he can gain 1.5 strokes putting like he did at Fortinet, that might as well be 11 for Taylor Montgomery, because Benny On's game is world class outside of that one club. And at 80-1 in a field like this, I love that number. I would bet that every time. The guy's got multiple top runner-ups on tour. He was 3rd at Sanderson Farms in 2019. This is just a clear buy on a long shot in Benny On.
Is there anybody else outside of your next guy, 40-20-10, and we'll pivot into that real quick, but was there anybody else that you were looking at long shot level material here? And as wide open as we've talked about this, saying Kevin Roy wins this out loud just didn't add up to me.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. I figured I figured I could pull somebody that you'd have to Google. Harry Hall, not Harry Higgs.
I like Harry Hall. Harry Hall, at least I've heard that name. The other guy I think you actually made up, but in a field
Kevin
like
Roy is 6-1 as a top 20. Come on. 60. Yeah, 6-1. Sorry.
sounds like a rejected Succession character, but no, I don't know who that is. You can always make a case for some of these guys, but you just want to be, that's my final advice. Then we'll get to my 40, 20, 10. You
Right.
can have new opportunity to buy on the Kevin Roys of the world. Some of them are going to struggle. Others are going to get it going quickly. You want to, pick your spots carefully because it's always fun to be early, but you can dump a lot of units chasing guys from the Corn Ferry Tour that don't pan out. So I'm going to go with more known commodities. I've seen Benyon play a bunch on tour already. It's not like he's a newcomer. I'll stick to those type of players. Luke List is 100-1. Hayden Buckley is 100-1. Those type of players where I have some data I can back it up with.
All right, let's look at 40, 20, 10s here before we get out. Remind everybody about the insider access as well. But the only rule here, we do stick to this one, is the guy has to be top 40 plus money. It can be even money, but there has to be a plus next to the number following a top 40. So take it away.
Patrick Rogers, plus 140 experience. Look at his recent starts. You're saying, man, he's playing terrible. Miscut and miscut. He lost 4.5 strokes putting and then 2.5 strokes putting. He is a great putter. That is an atypical result. If we get back with good putting, as I expect that we will, Patrick Rogers should not be plus 140 to come in the top 40 of a field like this. He doesn't have the best success in the world here, but he does play this course every year. Made the cut 3 out of 5 times. I am more than happy to ride with him any day of the week. If you're going to give me upwards of plus, 1.5-1, I would gladly take that.
Yeah, 1.5-1 is, yeah. It has to be because of recent performance. Like you're getting him on somewhat of a downswing, clearly, and that's why.
Putter.
Yeah, it is the putter.
That's great because this is not a bad putter. That's you always want a guy,
Good
Steph
point.
Curry, if he's shooting 12% from 3, well, he can shoot threes. It's not someone who shouldn't be taking them. Patrick Rogers, and it's a high variance club, no doubt, but he is going to gain strokes putting more often than not when he tees it up in any event.
Yeah, and I think what I'm going to do here is try and take advantage, as I did with Taylor Montgomery, but to a longer extent with a guy like Paul Haley, who also putted well last time out, right? What?
I'll take your word for it. Who the hell is Paul Haley?
Yes. See, every now and again, for anybody who's just new stumbling upon this show here, every week I try and as I just did with Kevin or Rob Roy, whatever the hell, right? Try to just in small passing reference a name that Rasa has to stop and be like, wait a second, who? But it's very rare that a play is somebody that you have no freaking idea who they are here.
I mean, these Corn Ferry graduates.
That's who it is. Yeah. Look, I'm taking a Corn Ferry grad who played exceptionally well 2 weeks ago and putted, much like Montgomery, putted through the roof. So if this kid can, or he's not a kid, he's 34, but if Haley the second can putt, now we're talking about a guy who is expected to come in and play well on tour this year from the Corn Ferry. So I think there's a little bit of positive expectation. The fact that he putted so well at Napa, now we can move on to here. That's all.
So, I mean, from what I do know about this guy, and being serious for a second, it's not much. He did win on the Corn Ferry Tour. He has beat. This is a pseudo Corn Ferry event. Let's be real. Like, he's not going up against Rory and Rahm, so he doesn't need to be overmatched just yet. It's the same thing I said about Taylor Montgomery. This guy's from Dallas, Texas. That's bent grass conditions, probably grew up on bent. Let's hope that he can putt on Bermuda, because if he can't, the rest of his game so far didn't look great. He seems to be a short game specialist. That's going to have to improve for him to hang in.
All right, let's wrap it up here on our final card. Before that, let's remind people, we told you about these great opportunities below, these links below, one at DraftKings, the other at BetMGM. You can turn money into more money by simply clicking, signing up, and being a part of what's going on at BetMGM and DraftKings. So what happens when you sign up? What do you do after that? Well, we have you covered here on the Odd Shopper Premium Insider Access. It's super easy to be a part of this. You're going to sign up. launch your Discord and then just be whatever you want to do. You want to follow Rasa, you want to follow Gajeski, Lindquist, Ehrenberg, myself, Lofty. You've got all of us available for you, but it's not just picks, right, Ben? It's insight, it's access. It's, hey, what do you think about this? And then getting a real detailed, we're doing live stuff. We hit a couple of live plays on mine. We've got battles. People are using this as a platform to go at each other. Like, you never know what the hell you're going to get, but you're going to get something profitable at a good return of your time at the very least.
Yeah, it's just at the end of the day, it's also very fun, and it's all about making money for sure, but it's also fun to be part of a community that kind of enjoys the wins and commiserates in some of the bad beats. And that's what we're trying to build here at OddsShopper, whether you're subscribed to this channel, and we hope that everyone is, so you can get all this content and kind of go at it together. Because at the end of the day, it's us against the books. So that's been a lot of fun. Really, really enjoy building that and seeing the community thrive.
Yeah, I will say, I know we were on the bad end of it, the wrong side of it, but it was pretty cool to see the community melt down collectively last Thursday night on that ridiculous, meaningless play that ruined me. Oh yeah, it does. That's, another conversation, but that's why you don't triple up betting units. All right, let's do it. Final, unless of course it's Paul Haley. Final card here.
He is a legacy.
8 units on Haley.
Smart. Riley, Seamus, that mid-range, I think it's pretty clear the strategy. You got to try to beat Sam Burns. If Sam Burns doesn't win this tournament, and most likely he will not, you're going to get a good price in some of the up-and-comers, whether that's Thiegel or McCarthy types. But for me, more the Davis, Riley, Seamus, even Benny Yon types. These are opportunities for these guys to break through and get that win. For Seamus to be adding another, I love that. I think that's where you want to thrive, and you can pick up some of these guys live if you want. We got to see on the weather. There is hurricanes in the area. Who knows what's going to happen with all that? But that is how I'm attacking this week.
I think just Thiegel top 10 is fine at plus 275. And then again, where I was with my card, it's Montgomery top 20, Haley 40, 20, 10, just kind of building off that and then tailing some of your stuff. Hopefully not mushing.
Don't mush it.
Like the MMA.
Oh my God. Don't even get me started. Anyway.
Thanks to Chris for producing. Thanks to you out there. We're here each and every Monday on the OddsShopper channel. It's free. So subscribe. It's not going to hurt. You're going to make some money on that. Hit the thumbs up button as well on your way out. And we'll cash these tickets. See you next week.